Leading right off of my first weekend with the PS5, I must say that the PS5 is so impressive. It's fast, it's pretty, it runs Miles Morales absolutely insane on fidelity mode and on performance mode, and overall it's been a great purchase for me from day one. However, with recent quotes from Jim Ryan that came out this week, it really does put into question, what does the future of the PS5 look like, and what do the PS5 games look like in the future? So what is going on, guys? It is your boy TKD123 here, back again here on PlayStation Source, and we're going to talk about the age-old question, is it bad for PS5 games to come to PlayStation 4? So we start our whole conversation with a reply that Jim Ryan gave during an interview with The Telegraph involving the next God of War game. Of course, we're going to call it God of War Ragnarok. It's not officially called that. We're going to call it that for the sake of this video because it is a PS5 version and it, was unveiled during the PS5 showcase. I digress. Here is what he said when he was asked if God of War Ragnarok will be a PS5 exclusive. He said, quote, "Sorry, I've got nothing to say about that today." I mean, maybe Jim Ryan really, for whatever reason, can't talk about it now. We could run with that and call it a day and go home, and you guys can subscribe and leave this video. But also at the same time, what if God of War Ragnarok is not just for PlayStation 5? And at the same time, is that really a bad thing, and why is it a bad thing? Why and how is it inherently bad for PS5 games to also come to PS4? Let's break it all down. And this doesn't even stop at God of War Ragnarok. Of course, we have the upcoming Ratchet & Clank Rift Apart coming to PS5, which I did start a Ratchet & Clank stream series last night, and we will be continuing over the coming months until we hit Rift Apart. I'm very excited about that. But aside that, we did have someone ask Insomniac Games about the nature of Ratchet & Clank Rift Apart and if it is coming to PS5. He says, quote, "Hey guys, I'm not sure if you've already announced this, but I was curious. Will Ratchet & Clank Rift Apart be coming to PS4 as well, or just to PS5? And Insomniac Games simply replies, it's a PS5 exclusive. Insomniac says no to that, and overall, I actually believe them. What we've seen of Rift Apart, it looks like it could literally not be the same game and run on PS4 with the use of the rifts in the game to go from one planet to another that requires an instant load with the SSD. So how did this all start? Where did this all begin in terms of this whole question of if a PS5 game is also coming to PS4, and why is it a problem? We gotta look all the way back to a clip from Road to PS5, not my Road to PS5 podcast. By the way, make sure to check out Road to PS5, link below in the description to the anchor link. I'm talking about Mark Cerny and how he laid out the benefits of the SSD in the PS5 during the GDC talk that was meant to be for GDC called Road to PS5, and he also laid out how these benefits go far beyond us waiting less time for loading.
The primary reason for an ultra-fast SSD is that it gives the game designer freedom. Or to put that differently, with a hard drive, the 20 seconds that it takes to load a gigabyte can sabotage the game that the developer is trying to create. I think almost all of us in the room have experienced this, maybe in different ways. Say we're making an adventure game and we have two rich environments where we each want enough textures and models to fill memory, which you can do as long as you have a long staircase or elevator ride or a windy corridor where you can ditch the old assets and then take 30 seconds or so to load the new assets. Having a 30-second elevator ride is a little extreme. More realistically, we'd probably chop the world into a number of smaller pieces and then do some calculations with sight lines and run speeds like we did for Haven City when we were making Jak 2. The game is 20 years old, but not much has changed since then. All those twisty passages are there for a reason. There's a whole subset of level design dedicated to this sort of work, but still, it's a giant distraction for a team that just wants to make their game. So when I talked about the dream of an SSD, part of the reason for that 5 GB a second target was to eliminate loads, but also part of the reason for that target was streaming. As in, what if the SSD is so fast that as the player is turning around, it's possible to load textures for everything behind the player in that split second? If you figure that it takes half a second to turn, that's 4 GB of compressed data you can load. That sounds about right for next gen.
So not only will the SSD give us faster load times, but developers are able to create the worlds and games they want to create. That means no more shimmy sections like in Final Fantasy VII Remake for the game to load, and also no more boosting up a player in The Last of Us or anything else like that, because the game can load huge amounts of data and textures in under a second. In theory, it'll make games more dynamic and richer and completely change the way game design works for the industry as a whole. It will truly be the next generation of games. Those were even echoed by Jim Ryan himself back in May as well. He said the following, quote, "We have always said that we believe in generations. We believe that when you go to all the trouble creating a next generation console, that it should include features and benefits that the previous generation does not include, and that in our view, people should make games that can make the most of those features. We do believe in generations, whether it's the DualSense controller, whether it's the 3D audio, whether it's the multiple ways that the SSD can be used. We are thinking that it's time to give the PlayStation community something new, something different that can really only be enjoyed on PS5. Now, we all took that as yes, PS5 games will fully be taking advantage of the notion that it's running on PS5 hardware and specifically that SSD to give us experiences we can quote only experience on PlayStation 5. But I guess he never really said that, did he? He mostly said that and certainly alluded to that, but he actually said quote something new, something different that can really only be enjoyed on PS5. Maybe that was his extremely subtle way of telling us what would come of the early PS5 games, because as you all probably already know, during the PS5 showcase on September 16, 2020 is where the real roots of this whole issue, or quote-unquote issue I guess I should say, started with the confirmation that Miles Morales, Sackboy: A Big Adventure, and Horizon Forbidden West were also coming to PS4 as well as their PS5 counterparts. See how that could potentially be a problem? Now these games have to run on the PS4's slower to load hard drive, so they can never really take fully advantage of the PS5's SSD. They're still susceptible to old game design ways, and these games can never really take full use of the promise we were told with PS5 games and how they would act. However, Jim Ryan says the contrary afterwards following the PS5 showcase. He says, quote, "No one should be disappointed about Horizon Forbidden West, Marvel Spider-Man Miles Morales, and Sackboy: A Big Adventure being on PS4. The PS5 versions of those games are built from the ground up to take advantage of the PS5 feature set, and we have an upgrade path for PS4 users to get the PS5 version for free. It's about people having choice. I'm really quite pleased about the situation. I guess the main thing I know nothing about is the process of making a quote built from the ground up PS5 game that also has a PS4 version and must be playable on PS4 as well. Is it just simply scaling the game down to PS4 specifications? Does the studio break up into two teams with development getting the core game down then making two separate versions of the game? That I don't know, but Jim Ryan reiterated the same sentiment in the interview with The Telegraph when he was asked about God of War Ragnarok. He said, quote, "The first thing to say is that our PS5 experiences or versions of these games are built from the ground up to take advantage of the PS5 feature set. So I think offering a PS5 version of these games for the PS5 community and then a PS4 version of these games to the PS4 community, I don't see what's wrong with that. We've got a community of PS4 gamers 100 million strong. It would be wrong to walk away from those people too early, and they've been engaged with their PS4s this year under lockdown to a greater extent than at any point over the course of the cycle. They're using their PlayStations. They're happy with their PlayStations. Why would we stop giving them games?" Bottom line, whatever side you end up on, he's really not wrong here. Let's get the obvious out of the way, and one of the biggest reasons, and probably the main reason he just can't say it, it's because the install base on PS4 is too big to ignore fiscally. Too much money is left on the table if a game doesn't come to PS4, so they definitely want those sales, especially given that the PS4 has over 115 million units out there in the wild that are still being used on a daily basis. But in the same sense, many people are unable to get a PS5 this year for a variety of reasons, whether it be lack of availability, your financial situation due to the pandemic, or anything else. Jim Ryan even said that PS5s will be difficult to come by and restock due to the high demand, so at its core, to answer the main question, no, it's not necessarily bad that PS5 games are coming to PS4. It's actually a great thing in terms of more people being able to experience Miles Morales, Sackboy, and Horizon Forbidden West, and And above all else, as a day one owner of PS5, the PS5 version of Spider-Man Miles Morales blew me away. It was technically impressive, beautiful, and above all else, a great game for 2020. The game being on PS4 does not change any of those facts. However, it does tie it all back to the what if factor. What if the game had been only designed for PS5? How would the game be different? How would the game's design be different if the PS4 wasn't in the picture? It's great that more people in the PlayStation community get to experience these games, but how will PS5 games start to look, feel, and play when developers only focus on the PS5 hardware? That's where the hesitation comes in with God of War Ragnarok. God of War 2018 was a masterpiece, and I only want to see it elevated to a higher place with the sequel. I have no doubt in my mind at all that God of War Ragnarok will likely be amazing, but if it comes to PS4, how will that affect the game's design and heights it could reach? That's the core of it. What will PS5 games truly be like when we're out of the cross-generational phase and truly into the next generation completely? I guess to end off on my really candid thoughts, to me, if the games are good, the games are good. I love Miles Morales, and that really opened my eyes to the prospect of, hey, these developers can really fine-tune a game to take advantage of PS5, and Miles Morales is the proof of that. So let's just hope that the good people at Sony Santa Monica can do the exact same thing for God of War Ragnarok and make sure that the PS5 version is really up to par, and I really think that they will do that. But at the same time, I cannot wait to see how the game design changes from what Mark Cerny laid out, from what developers are able to do with the SSD, and see what the true PS5 games that don't have to take into PS4 account, how they could be designed and how they could really push the industry forward. But most importantly, what are your thoughts on this topic? Do you want to see more PS5 games come to PS4, or do you want Horizon Forbidden West to be the last PS5 game to come to PS4 and God of War Ragnarok to be exclusive to PS5? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below, and make sure also while you are down there to check out our description where you can find links to our Discord, our Twitter, as well as our Anchor link. That way you can listen to our long form content in podcast format. Those of course being Road to PS5 and Road to Miles Morales, both going up Saturday and Sunday this weekend, and a few more weekends to go because those shows are coming to an end. Like the video if you enjoyed it, ring that notification bell so you never miss an upload or stream, and make sure to also hit that join button down below if you deem us so worthy to become a Prince tier for $1 or a King tier for $5 and give you access to different channel badges, emotes, as well as shout outs and all PSS content, just like the homies Caleb Kaiser, Arachnite, Chungi, Tabiwa Musa, and the homie Owen. Much love to you gentlemen. Thank you for being members of PlayStation Source. Make sure to stay subscribed to PlayStation Source to keep up with the latest and greatest on all things PS5 and PlayStation. Thank you all for watching, and as always, greatness awaits.